Hey guys, how's it going? Alex Scott here with Consordini.com. Thank you guys so much for checking out another one of our super cool studio gear reviews. Today we are taking a look at the Multimedia iRig mic. This is the studio version, specifically the Studio XLR. Now this mic comes in a few different flavors. There is a studio version that just has a USB cable. It's a USB mic, so you connect it to your computer directly like that. This one, however, is the XLR variant. So it is just a totally standard large diaphragm condenser mic, requires phantom power to operate. It is really dead simple. There's no polar patterns, there's no pads, there's no roll off, nothing like that. It is just what you see is what you get. It is a very, very simple mic, but it is actually an incredibly cool mic that has some very unique features when you pair it with Multimedia's MicRoom software. Now, I talked a little bit about MicRoom in our review of T-RackS 5 because it is a plugin that comes with that T-RackS bundle. But when you consider what this mic can do in conjunction with that software, it's really, really awesome, and it actually makes me think that this is the best option for anyone who is looking for a modeling microphone, okay? So the mic on its own, pretty standard plain Jane large diaphragm condenser. It sounds perfectly nice, perfectly usable. It's pretty neutral overall. It's not particularly charactered, but it's when you use it in conjunction with this MicRoom software that it really takes off and kind of becomes something way more. Now, talking about modeling microphones, there's a few different options out there on the market. Antelope Audio has their Edge microphone system. Slate Digital has the VMS, the virtual microphone system. These are both really, really great systems, but they kind of involve more components than just a mic and some software. You have to use their proprietary preamps that send their software a very particular type of signal, and also the mics themselves are quite expensive. The Slate modeling microphone retails for close to $1,000. The Antelope Edge mics are a little bit less expensive than that, but still $500-600. This guy retails for $150, which when you combine it with the price of the plugin, which I think is right around the same price, for just a couple $100, you're getting a full-on mic modeling system that sounds really, really incredible. So when you put it up against those big guys, I haven't used the Slate VMS or the Antelope Edge mics, or there's another one called the Townsend Labs Sphere, which looks very, very cool, but that one is even more complex. It has multiple cables that come out of it. It's a pretty involved system. So when you stack it up next to those mics, I haven't done a direct comparison, but especially when we get into looking at the software and how this mic works with the software, it is an amazing option for anyone who needs or wants to experiment with microphone modeling. Now, if you're not familiar with microphone modeling, the idea is that using software, if you know the source nature or characteristic of your microphone, right? So because Multimedia built this mic, they know exactly what the frequency response is and the proximity effect and all that kind of stuff. If you know all of those things, you can use software to kind of translate that sound into something that sounds a lot more like some of the most famous microphones in history. That's really the idea behind mic modeling. So that's true of the Slate VMS system, that is true of the Antelope Edge stuff, the Townsend. That's exactly what all of these microphones do. But this mic, when you pair it with the MicRoom software, because it's made by IK, and the software is made by IK, they know kind of the exact parameters of this mic, they can couple it with their MicRoom software and have exactly the same effect. So when you run this mic into your preamp and then you connect it to your DAW, you load up that plugin, you're able to go through, select this as your source mic, and model an AKG C12, a Neumann U87, a Neumann U47, etc., etc. Some of those legendary microphones that cost $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 that kind of are unobtainium for a lot of people, myself included, even as like a professional recording engineer. So not only is this great for recording applications, but the reason that I bought it, as you can see, I'm here in my much smaller mobile studio. I'm in Bangkok, Thailand right now, traveling all over the world, doing some remote production work, filming a travel series for YouTube called Nomadic Barge. We'll stick a link down in the description. Please go check it out. But when I was putting together this mobile rig so that I could kind of travel around and do all my normal production work, as well as do a lot of voiceover work and all that kind of stuff, I needed a good quality large diaphragm mic, but I also needed something that was really, really versatile. One of the main things that you hear from a lot of people who are just getting into home recording, whether they're singer-songwriters or what have you, especially like also people doing podcasts or any kind of voiceover work, everybody always asks, well, how is mic A or B or C or whatever, how is it going to sound on my voice? And it's usually very difficult to tell what any given microphone is going to sound like without just getting it in front of you. And for some of these mics that are modeled in this MicRoom software, that's not possible. You know, a vintage AKG C12 is like a $12,000 microphone, and even though they sound incredible, that's way out of the reach of most average people. So while I definitely think that this is a great solution for recording instruments and having it run in a recording studio, what I'm going to focus on when we actually start listening to it is just doing voiceover and speaking into it. Because A, that's a great way for you to hear the characteristics of each of these mics, but B, that's really where I see the best in most applications for this mic is for either a singer or a spoken word artist, whether again that's podcasting or voiceover or whatever, to be able to get this mic and have a wide selection of microphones to choose from, to either just use that as their primary recording, you know, system or device or mic or whatever, so that they can switch through and pick what mic model feels or sounds best for the particular type of material that they're doing. Or also, this would be an amazing way to be able to go in and demo a wide variety of different microphones. If you're trying to decide on that one kind of holy grail mic that you would like to get, you can actually go in here and see, well, how does kind of an AKG C12 vibe sound on my voice versus a U87 kind of a vibe or something like that. So what we'll go ahead and do is move the camera over. I'll get it back on the stand, and I'm just going to do some basic voiceover and show you guys the software, run through each of the models and speak into them so that you guys can kind of hear how it sounds and see if it's something you'd be interested in picking up.
Okay, guys, so as you can see and hear, we now have our IK Multimedia iRig mic set up. I've got a dead cat kind of pop filter on, and in our software here on the screen cap, you can see we have our MicRoom software loaded up. Now, we have the source side and we have the target side. As you can see on the source side, I have iRig Mic Studio. That is the mic that I have. Since it's a known quantity to the software, it's going to be able to really accurately model all of these different target microphones. And there's quite a good selection. We have Dynamic 57. You're going to hear my voice changing as I go through these. So this is a Shure SM57, obviously. A Shure SM58. We also have an Electro Voice RE20 classic radio mic. You can hear, even just from the 58 to this, the response totally changes. And then, of course, we have a Sennheiser 421 classic drum mic. A 441, which, you know, again, a lot deeper. And you can control a lot of different things here. You can push the harmonics out and get more saturation. You can mess with the proximity effect, so we can kind of pull ourselves off the mic or push ourselves onto the mic. That's going to affect the low end response of the model. But really where this thing shines is when we get into the more expensive type mics. So this is an AKG C12, a classic Austrian microphone, first designed in the 1960s. We have the legendary Neumann U87. This mic is absolute studio standby. It's been on so many records, more records than you could ever count. Slightly rarer and very famous for its use with the Beatles, the Neumann U67. The Neumann KM84, which is a vintage small diaphragm condenser. As you can hear, there's a little bit less low end here. Other notable microphone models include the AKG C414, which is another studio classic, studio standby. Now, moving out of the condensers, we do have some other interesting options. We have a Royer 121. You can hear it immediately. You get that slightly rolled off top end. That's very well known in terms of ribbon mics. Here's another, I believe, a Bayer Dynamic ribbon mic. Slightly different response there. And then we also have some really fun creative ones like this telephone option, or a mic that's just called vintage, which is sort of another vintage radio sounding kind of a thing. But this is where you can get more into creative sound processing. You know, you could use this telephone setting really on any source, because you don't have to have this microphone for this software to work. You can put it on anything and set your sources, whatever. It really doesn't matter. But going back to a classic 57 here, you can also model from any of these mics. So if you have an SM57 and you want to go to a C12, For instance, it's going to sound a little odd right now because this isn't an SM57. But if that's all you had, you could use this software to model from a 57 to a C12. I think, again, that using their mic is the best idea because the software knows the mic. But other than that, hopefully you guys can hear. Hopefully it's pretty clear. Go back to our normal model here. It really sounds great. It really gives you a lot of options. It gives you a lot of cool tone shaping ability in terms of what you're able to do, and it lets you try out a lot of these different really famous mics. We can push our harmonics up, get more saturation, mess with our proximity effect on any of the models, and it's going to change the response. We can also do some different stereo correlation stuff if you're using it on a stereo track, which is a really, really nice feature. But overall, it's really simple, it's really intuitive, and it sounds great.
Okay guys, so there you go. IK Multimedia iRig Studio Mic XLR. Now, as you can hear, when you use it in conjunction with the software, it sounds really, really cool, and you can get a massively wide variety of tones out of this mic. And a lot of those tones are very reminiscent of the mics they're designed to model. Now, obviously, depending on the preamp you're using, there's a lot of variance, but there's also a lot of variance in vintage microphones. I have been blessed to be able to work with some of the microphones that you hear modeled in the software. I've certainly worked with U87s and AKG C414s and Royer 121. A lot of those mics I have worked with. Some of them I haven't. I've never heard a real U47 in person, as they're exceptionally rare. Same with an AKG C12. Those are, like I said at the beginning of the video, kind of unobtainium. It's not very often that you see a vintage C12 in great working condition out in the wild, unless you're consistently working in really big studios, which I have my own studio, so generally I'm working there and not in larger facilities. But what I will say is that the models that I hear in the software of mics that I've used in the past sound pretty accurate. It's not a perfect one-to-one, but they're certainly accurate enough for you to get an idea of the character of some of those more legendary microphones, to see if it's something that you might want to save up and purchase in the future, or something that you would like. But where I see this, as great as it is to have that ability to kind of demo all these different mics, I really just see it as an amazing tool for, again, singers, voiceover artists, podcast people, anything like that, to have a big selection of mics to choose from and to really find what suits their voice best for a particular project or song or whatever, and not have to have a massive collection of microphones. That's exactly what I use it for. When I very first got it, I do voiceover for, commercial purposes, but also over on the Nomadic Bard channel where I do the travel documentaries. I do voiceover for all that, and I wasn't totally sold on buying one particular microphone, because depending on if I'm doing a radio voiceover, or if I'm doing a voiceover for that channel, or if I'm doing a voiceover here on Consordini, whatever, it's nice to be able to choose from some different tones and work with it that way, kind of pick and choose what flavor I want to apply to a particular project. It's very, very nice. I tend to really like the C12 on my voice, but I've certainly used other things depending on what it needs to be. If I do a voiceover for somebody that's, say, wants to sound more like a vintage radio ad, I might use a U47 or even a dynamic or a ribbon model in there to give it that kind of vibey old school sound. So it's very, very cool from that perspective. The last thing that I really like about just the software standalone is that you can actually use it as a very creative mixing tool, and I've definitely done a lot of that. I'll put MicRoom on a source and then go in and use like one of the telephone settings, and that gives it immediately that like old school telephone or old school kind of radio vibe. So you don't even have to use the software in conjunction with the mic, although that's really what it's designed for. The software on its own is a really cool mixing tool that we can use to bring a lot of texture and flavor and saturation kind of to any of our sources. And then of course, as you saw in the software, you can use lots of other mics. If you have a Shure SM57 or 58, or you happen to have a Neumann U87 or something like that, all of those profiles are in the software as well, and you can choose any of them as your source mic. So that way, you don't even have to have specifically IK's mic to get some use out of that software as well. However, in my opinion, it's always best when you're talking about mic modeling to use a microphone that is very much a known quantity to the manufacturer. IK Multimedia make this mic. They know exactly how it sounds. Since they manufacture it in-house, they know the frequency response, they know all that stuff. So you're going to get more accurate models out of this mic used with any good transparent preamp than you are with it trying to guess what your particular Shure SM58 sounds like. I think you're going to have less convincing results doing that than just using a mic that IK made. But again, overall for the price and the usability, this is to me the best, most affordable option for modeling microphones on the market. I'm sure the Slight stuff sounds amazing. I've heard great reviews of it, same with the Antelope Edge stuff, but again, that really is more designed for serious professionals. Antelope Audio, they make amazing interfaces. My main interface back in my studio at home is an Antelope Orion 32, and it sounds incredible. They make great preamps that they build into their interfaces. All that is awesome. But their interfaces are very expensive. Their most inexpensive interface is still just shy of $1,000, if I'm not wrong. The Zen Tour, I believe it is. But my Orion 32 is normally over $3,000. I got a deal on it because I found it used, but their interfaces are very, very expensive. Same with the Slate VMS system. The mic itself is, I think, $700, $800, $900, somewhere in there. Then they recommend that you buy their preamp on top of that for the best frequency response, blah, blah, blah. Before you know it, you're spending over $1,000 bare minimum. With this thing, you're getting the mic for $150, you're getting the plug-in. I can't remember exactly how much the plug-in is. I think it's maybe $50 or something like that. So for just a couple $100, you're getting a full microphone modeling system. It's got all those classic legendary mic models in it, and it sounds really, really good. It's very, very usable. So full marks from me. I think it's an awesome product, and I'm kind of surprised at this conjunction of this mic and the software. I haven't heard about or seen more from, since it is a full-on mic modeling system when you pair it all together. Definitely something I would recommend for anyone who does recording, but again, specifically singers, voiceover artists, podcast guys, anything like that. If you're a podcaster and you're interviewing somebody, having a couple of these around, maybe their voice isn't agreeing with the mic, you can just go in there, model a different mic, it suits their voice better. Just so many cool possibilities, So if it sounds like something you're interested in, definitely recommend checking it out. In any case, what do you guys think? Have you used any of IK's mics? Have you used mic modeling hardware or software in the past? Is there stuff you like about it, stuff you don't like? Whatever your opinions may be, definitely let me know in the comments down below. And if you have not yet subscribed to the Consordini channel, please do so. Click that notification bell to be kept up to date with our new videos. If you want to give this video a like or a share, we deeply appreciate it. But my name is Alex Scott with Consordini.com. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.